Thank you for joining me here this morning. The time is currently 11:32 a.m. Central, and you have a live look at a dangerous, severe thunderstorm capable of producing hail up to tennis ball size and damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. This is for parts of Iowa here, right? This includes the cities of Brooklyn, Montezuma, and New Sharon. So if you're on this severe thunderstorm warning, move indoors and away from windows immediately in the middle of your house. Okay, again, this is a very dangerous storm here that has had a history of producing tennis ball-sized hail, according to the public, as it has come all the way from Knoxville and now is all the way up here towards New Sharon once again. So we'll continue to watch this here as this progresses. We also have another severe thunderstorm. This is off towards the west here, closer to Nebraska. This is a storm that's going to be capable of producing hail up to ping pong ball size, so still a pretty big threat coming in for areas like Staplehurst, Seward, Garland, B, Ulysses, and Dwight. So if you're in that area, once again, make sure you are moving indoors and away from windows immediately. So we do have a tornado watch in effect here for portions of eastern Nebraska, western Iowa, and northwestern Missouri. If you are not aware, yesterday we were kind of talking about, by the way, this includes a few counties in southeastern South Dakota as well, but if you're not aware, yesterday we were talking about a widespread severe weather or tornado outbreak expected today, and if anything, things have only gotten worse, okay? The moderate risk has gotten much larger, alright? This includes parts of Kansas, Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Wisconsin, Minnesota, alright? It includes a good chunk of the Midwestern United States here, and we also now have a 15% hatch tornado risk. So if you're in that red area today, you have a 15% chance to see a tornado in your town, and at least a 10% chance to see a strong tornado in your town, okay? So areas like Cedar Rapids, Davenport, Galesburg, Dubuque, out towards Des Moines, you got to be looking out because we have a very high-end, strong tornado risk today. Damaging wind threat is also incredibly high, right? We have a 45% hatched risk for damaging winds. So if you're in that pink area, you have a 45% chance to see wind gusts of 60 miles per hour or higher in your town today. And if you are also at least a 10% chance to see destructive wind gusts of 75 miles per hour or higher in your town today, okay? So look out for that. Taking a look here at the large hail threat, we can see that we have a 45% hatch risk for large hail even, which is just absolutely insane, all right? This is for areas like Des Moines, Ames, back over towards Maryville and Chillicothe, all right? Now, once again, that's a 45% chance to see hail of 1 inch or larger in your town, and at least a 10% chance to see hail of 2 inches or larger in your town. And once again, we've already got some storms in this area producing that, like this one here near Montezuma, okay? So, again, we are expecting a widespread tornado outbreak today. This is just the beginning, all right? Again, we have a tornado watch out here, we have a severe thunderstorm watch out here, and we even have a slight risk that goes all the way from Texas back into Michigan, okay? So again, very widespread area of severe weather potential today. Again, the main areas that we're going to be concerned about, though, are areas shaded in this orange color here, right? That's your enhanced risk of severe weather, and then the red color inside of that is your moderate risk of severe weather, okay? So, again, very high-end severe weather threat today for parts of the Midwest, and we're going to be here live covering it. And this is the very beginning, again, with this storm that is currently producing tennis ball-sized hail near New Sharon. You got to look out for this. You got to move indoors and away from windows immediately. It says a very large hail signature on the vertically integrated liquid. It's maxed out. So again, you gotta look out for that. I'm gonna go ahead and pull up Stream Chat, so if anybody has any questions about their location, feel free to leave those down below. I'll try to answer them accurately and honestly, because we're gonna be live here multiple times today, covering this severe weather. So, anyway. Once again, if you're just now tuning in, we do have a considerable severe thunderstorm currently impacting New Sharon, Iowa. This is a storm capable of producing tennis ball-sized hail and damaging wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour. This did have multiple instances of producing lime-sized hail back over towards Pella, and again, it has the potential to even produce hail up to tennis ball size, so it's a very dangerous storm there that we are currently watching. And we also have another severe thunderstorm currently impacting parts of Nebraska, areas off to the northwest of Seward, which, by the way, this storm has now been upgraded to golf ball-sized hail. So again, if you are in this area, make sure to move indoors and away from windows immediately in the middle of your house. All right, areas like Staplehurst, Ulysses, B, and Dwight. You got to look out for this. Again, that is a considerable severe thunderstorm warning off to the northwest of Lincoln there in Nebraska. We have a pretty big line of storms up here in Wisconsin that's mainly just going to be causing the problems of some gusty winds and heavy rainfall. But areas in central Wisconsin are going to have to look out for that for sure. Areas along Interstate 39, I mean, this is right on top of you. We have a ton of storm chasers out there today, and for copyright reasons, obviously I can't bring up their feed for too long, but I can bring up some of our cyclone ports that we have out there. We have this one from Brooklyn, Wisconsin. Let's see here. There's really no good ones in this region. We'll bring up the one to the north of Kansas City, actually. That's a pretty good one. But I mean, that's pretty much it. Those are really the only ones in our big risk area today. So, there we go. We did actually, after we ended streaming yesterday, late last night, around 5 a.m., we had 90-mile-per-hour winds that snapped power poles near Columbus, Nebraska. I believe there was another 90-mile-per-hour gust somewhere in here. Yeah, here it is. This was closer to Benkelman, so this did quite a bit of damage to barns and grain bins. So, I mean, we did have multiple instances of 90-plus mile-per-hour winds last night across parts of southern and central Nebraska here. So, look at all those 50 to 60 mile-per-hour wind reports. All those green boxes there. Pretty much everywhere from Kearney to Lexington, back over towards Grand Island, and even out to Lincoln experienced some form of damaging winds last night. After we finished streaming. But I had to go to bed at a reasonable time because I knew that today we were going to need to be live for a long time. It's going to be even more intense than yesterday, most likely. The main tornado threat is going to start to develop around noon. Alright, so in about 20 minutes. The reason being is because we're going to have discrete supercells in a heavily sheared and cape-filled environment out here in parts of, once again, Iowa and Illinois. We're also going to have, once again, that threat for very life-threatening destructive winds and some very large hail as well across parts of Iowa and especially Illinois. I think the damaging wind threat will increase as this system looks like it's going to go linear once it reaches parts of northwestern Illinois and southwestern Wisconsin. Again, I think the bigger tornado threat actually lies back out here in parts of Iowa and Missouri, but the bigger damaging wind threat is going to be out here towards Wisconsin and Illinois because whenever this storm goes linear, which is going to happen, it's not going to have that same tornadic potential, but the damaging winds will highly increase. And that's not to say you couldn't see a tornado out here in northwestern Illinois or southwestern Wisconsin. There's still a very good chance that we'll see one or two out here at least. But it's not going to be quite as intense as it will be back here in Iowa most likely. And, you know, you can take that in reverse too. Just because you're in Iowa doesn't mean you're not going to see damaging winds. You still could, especially with a storm like this where we already have damaging winds. Being produced up to 60 miles per hour near Montezuma, south of Interstate 80 there. So, again, we're talking about a very big day for severe weather, quite possibly. This could be one of the bigger days we've had in May thus far. May has been incredibly active, though, so I don't know. And we also do even have a marginal risk of severe weather up in New England today because, yes, we are going to have that potential for some isolated storms capable of producing maybe some damaging winds or large hail to develop like this one that we currently have near Johnsburg, Vermont. New York. This is in upstate New York. But again, our main threat, obviously, is going to be back here in the Midwest today. But again, an isolated instance of damaging winds once or twice cannot be ruled out here across parts of New England today. This is your favorite channel for storm watching? Thank you. Alright, so again, back over here to our most concerning storm in the whole country right now, out here in eastern Iowa. This is capable of producing tennis ball-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts as it approaches Montezuma and Brooklyn and other areas along Interstate 80 in eastern Iowa. If you are in this area, make sure that you are moving indoors and away from windows immediately, as well as in the middle of your house, and preferably on the lowest floor possible. Okay, we have large to very large hail up to tennis ball size falling here near Searsboro, Iowa right now, most likely. We take a look at the vertically integrated liquid signatures again. I mean, it's maxed out back here, southwest of New Share, and as of 10 minutes ago, so now it's going to be up here closer to Brownsville and Stillwell, as well as Searsboro. Once again. So. Again, if you do have any questions about your location, feel free to leave those down below in chat, because we're talking about a very widespread event here today. And even tomorrow, the tornado threat for tomorrow is still there, alright? And the severe weather threat in general is actually pretty high tomorrow. Tomorrow, we're mainly going to be focused on portions of the lower Mississippi Valley, areas like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, alright, Missouri, I already said Missouri, okay, Kentucky. We do have an enhanced risk of severe weather. That's a 3 out of 5 risk on the severe weather scale there. That includes areas like DFW, Little Rock. Again, that is a 3 out of 5, an enhanced risk of severe weather there in the orange shade for tomorrow. And that's mainly going to be driven by a damaging wind and large hail threat, but again, an isolated tornado or two cannot be ruled out. In fact, I think that we're probably going to see a few tornadoes tomorrow, maybe even an isolated, decently strength one. Alright, so again, we're going to have to be live here again multiple times tomorrow as well to cover that, because again, enhanced risks are no joke, guys. I know it feels like we've been getting them every day recently, because we kind of have been, but they're pretty serious. And even on, Thursday here, where we have this slight risk, this is going to be another event that we're going to have to watch very closely, and that we're definitely going to be live for here across parts of Kansas, Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Missouri. Again, that's on Thursday. We will be live here again multiple times covering this event, and then also into into Saturday, we have a slight risk. For parts of Texas, Oklahoma, and Arkansas. And then going into Sunday, we have another slight risk for parts of Illinois, Missouri, Arkansas, Mississippi, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, and Indiana. So we'll be here on Friday too. Again, I do think that Friday could be a decently, intense severe weather outbreak. I don't know if it's going to be on the magnitude of what we're probably going to see today or anything, but it could be. By the way, our storm here has now been downgraded to golf ball-sized hail near Montezuma, which is still a very large hail threat. So again, if you're in this area, make sure you are moving indoors and away from windows immediately, as 60-mile-per-hour damaging wind gusts and golf ball-sized hail are capable with this storm here. Again, the storm does have, it has had multiple instances of lime-sized hail being produced back over towards Pella. Again, we're going to watch our storm back here near Seward to see if it develops any kind of tornado threat. It's rotating a little bit, but it's nothing impressive yet. I think that's mainly just, a form of damaging winds there. But again, these little cells back here in eastern Nebraska are going to be the ones that we have to watch as they travel into western Iowa. Because the round ahead of this, right, areas in Iowa have already gotten hit hard this morning by what's actually the leftovers of yesterday's event. If you guys remember yesterday, these are the leftovers from that, alright? Those storms all the way back that started in Colorado today are impacting parts of Iowa, and they're still severe. But we got another round coming in that's going to be the big concerning one right behind that, right, for parts of eastern Nebraska and western Iowa here. And I do think that whenever this moves into our moderate risk of severe weather, we are probably going to get a pretty high-end tornado watch. I wouldn't even rule out a PDS tornado watch getting issued. So we'll watch this event again for a decent chunk of the day here. Again, we're going to be live multiple times, because obviously we can't be live for every second of the event. So we want to make sure that we are live here for the most active parts. So whenever there's, a less intense period of severe weather, that's kind of when we'll take a break. And then come back later whenever necessary. So we haven't really taken a look at what the models are showing yet for this event. this stream, so we might as well do that. Let's take a look at the NAM here. We see that it was painting the picture for some strong to, once again, severe thunderstorms across parts of Nebraska and Iowa around this time, but it wasn't painting too much convection, right? We've kind of overperformed in that regard thus far. But around 2 p.m. is where the tornado threat really starts to increase here across parts of eastern Nebraska as we get these little discrete supercells to pop up. It could become a problem pretty quickly. Then by 3 to 4 p.m., again, those cells start to move into parts of western Iowa. By 5 to 6 p.m., again, the tornado threat's going to be very high here near Des Moines. With some of these isolated to discrete supercells if they manage to take advantage of that atmosphere. And then by 7 p.m., you can kind of see this turning into a linear, what was I going to say? A linear form of storms here that kind of stretches like all the way back from Oklahoma back into Wisconsin here. By 8 p.m., that damaging wind threat, once again, I think it really increases there as it goes into northwestern Illinois, areas like Davenport, Galesburg, potentially. By around 10 p.m., this is sweeping through areas like Springfield, Bloomington, again with that damaging wind threat. And then by 11 p.m., midnight, all right, again, the damaging wind threat's still going to be there, but it's going to be much less. But again, we could still see some isolated gusts up to 70 miles per hour, quite possibly here for areas of even, like southeastern Illinois and south central Illinois. So we did just get a new severe thunderstorm warning. That's going to be for parts of Nebraska here. That is an extension for a storm that is currently near Ulysses. This is going to be heading towards Brainerd, Valparaiso, Wahoo, and Prague over the next half hour to an hour. So if you're in this area, again, make sure that you are getting indoors and away from windows immediately. This storm is capable of producing golf ball-sized hail and damaging winds up to 50 miles per hour. And while we're here, kind of just waiting to see if any of these cells are going to do anything over the next several minutes, we can actually take a look at tomorrow's event. All right, again, this is going to be the area where we have the enhanced risk tomorrow. We can see even by just like 9 a.m., all right, we're talking about a very high damaging wind threat for parts of eastern Oklahoma and north Texas. I think that's going to definitely produce some damaging winds of 60 to maybe even 65 miles per hour at times. And then around 1 p.m., the tornado threat kind of starts to ramp up across parts of Arkansas and Missouri here whenever we get some of these little cells out here that are going to be able to take advantage of the nice, juicy atmosphere that we have out here. It's painting a monster supercell here. The NAM is kind of around the DFW area by around 3 p.m. Again, that's going to be a cell, if this does end up happening, that's capable of producing all threats of damaging winds, large hail, and maybe even a tornado or two. And then by 4 p.m., we're kind of just seeing more of the same. And then really by the evening time hours, things really start to pop off for parts of northeast Texas and southeastern Oklahoma. And another, scenario here where if we get any of these cells that kind of become discrete, we could have a problem with a tornado or two. And then around 8 p.m., again, I think these are just going to be limited to damaging wind and large hail threats by the time the daylight heating hours end there, and then we go into the overnight hours. And really, we can even see all the way out here towards Thursday's event starting up in the kind of mid-Mississippi Valley area here. All right, we can definitely see some storms that could maybe be strong in a couple of spots across parts of Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, areas like Nashville, Little Rock, kind of the general region we're talking about, right? So we're not going to look too far out because obviously whenever we start looking further out than that, things get a little inaccurate, but that's kind of what we're talking about here for the next few days in terms of our severe weather event potential. Again, today's looking like the biggest day in the near future that we could have. Obviously, yesterday and even Sunday were absolutely insane days, and we have the potential to see something like that again. We could have a third derecho in a 2-week span here across parts of the Midwest today. Really depends on whenever, that linear line of storms pops up. Okay, so it's just going to depend on if it pops up early enough, because a derecho has to travel 240 miles to technically be considered a derecho. So let's say it starts up in eastern Iowa here. All right, we'll say it starts up just south of Cedar Rapids. It's going to have to travel, all the way to, parts of eastern Illinois here to become an official derecho, which I do think is a possibility. So I'd give it maybe a 50-50 chance that today we end up with a derecho by the end of it. By no means, though, do I think it's going to be as intense as Sunday's derecho. That was just insane across parts of Kansas. And I definitely don't think it's going to be as big as the Houston derecho either. Again, there's just been so much insane severe weather recently. Normally, if we had like one day like this, we'd be talking about it for, a good few weeks. But we're getting that kind of stuff every day. So it's, what's the next big event that we're going to have? We did get a new severe thunderstorm warning, by the way, for our storm in Iowa. That's an extension. This is still a storm capable of producing quarter-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds as it heads towards Marengo, Victor, and Williamsburg, areas along Interstate 80 there. Make sure you are moving indoors. Again, that is a severe thunderstorm warning for you guys now. But yeah, I mean, it's just been crazy recently. Oklahoma has just gotten hit so hard over the past few weeks. I mean, we've had multiple EF4s, we've had violent tornadoes, we've had multiple tornado emergencies, we've had, derecho type events. It's been just ridiculous. And Oklahoma and Kansas have kind of been, in the middle of it all. I mean, over the past few weeks, we've had more EF3s than we've probably had, within like 6 months of, this time period. Probably even longer than that. This tornado season was just incredibly above average. In fact, if you look on the historical years for tornado season, I cannot speak. Since 2010, all right, for the past 14 years, other than 2011, obviously that massive super outbreak, this year has had the most intense tornado season. The second most intense tornado season out of the past 14 years. Again, 2011 was obviously way more intense than any of the past several years, but 2024 is the second most active. We've already had 761 tornadoes. And that was only as of May 13th, so now we're probably up to at least 800 after these insane super outbreaks that we've been having for the past few days. By the way, we did just get a new severe thunderstorm warning now. That is not really an extension, but this warning is going to expire, but this storm is still in that area. So Brooklyn, Victor, Deep River, all right, this warning was about to expire for you, so they have went ahead and reissued it for golf ball-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour damaging winds. So again, make sure you are getting indoors and away from windows immediately as that continues in that area there. But yeah, it's just incredible. It really is. Like last year, alright, was a very intense year as well for severe weather. We are on track to have more tornadoes than we did last year and more violent tornadoes than we did last year as of right now. So, it's just crazy. And really, this was looking like a relatively tame and, below average tornado season until, like, I would say mid to late April. Again, things were looking, honestly, like this was going to be one of the weaker severe weather seasons we've had in a while, but this is definitely one of the more intense ones now. Over the past month, I mean, we've had hundreds of tornadoes across parts of the plains alone. So While we're here and we're just kind of waiting for something to happen, we can go ahead and talk about the Climate Prediction Center's outlook here for the next several days. This is until the end of May, alright? They are predicting well above average temperatures for everybody in the eastern United States. And then out here in the western United States, we've got an area across parts of Nevada and Utah that could be above average. And then we've got a couple of spots across the west coast that could be a little bit below average. So the severe weather setup is looking, like it's going to be a little bit less intense here as we enter June than it has been for the past few weeks, but that's not saying much. It's really not. If we look at the day 8 to 14 outlook here, we can actually see some pretty interesting stuff. We've got a good chunk of the United States. I mean, everywhere across parts of, the plains, the Northwest, the South are likely going to have above average temperatures. But then we've got this small little dome here across parts of the mid-Mississippi Valley, all right? And that could create a severe weather threat here for parts of, areas like Kansas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Mississippi potentially, sometime in that time frame. Now, obviously, this is only a 33% chance of temperatures being below average, right? Nothing's set in stone yet, and even that is not really a strong enough area there to, promote some sort of major severe weather events. But if confidence increases, we could, once again have that potential for some severe weather here across parts of the lower Mississippi River Valley, as well as across parts of the southern plains. But again, we're looking super far out here. This is the week 3 to 4 outlook. Now, what this tells us is it is just going to be hot. We've got a massive area of above average temperatures expected for next month, everywhere from Washington to Florida. It's going to be hot, guys, as we enter early summer here. And then if we take a look at the 1 month outlook, this is for June. Just in general, we can see they are predicting a large area of above average temperatures to be in place here for portions of the western United States and the southern United States. And then maybe a small area here in California, get some below average temperatures. Their start to summer, is a little bit less intense. In especially like the Los Angeles area. And then we got the 3 month outlook. This is for either May, June, and July, or June, July, and August. But you can just see how ridiculous this is. Pretty much the entire country is expected to have above average temperatures. Now, that's not to say, obviously, that, every day is going to be an extreme scorcher for the entire summer for everybody in the U.S., but there are going to be several spots where we see, above average and potentially even record-breaking temperatures this summer. Again, that's just like a general outlook, so the fact that they're putting that much confidence into this far out means that we could have some serious, heat increase, especially out here in, areas like the Four Corner states. It's just going to be warm this summer, right? I think it's going to be above average for a lot of people. I could do a summer forecast. I've never really done a proper seasonal forecast. I have done times before where, I look at the Climate Prediction Center's outlook maps, but that's not really a whole forecast for a season. I don't like doing those, though, because, you could say one area is going to be, above average temperature-wise, and then they assume every day is just going to be ridiculously hot, and you're not going to have any cool downs. I will say the severe weather potential looks pretty intense this summer here, especially for areas across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. If we look at the precipitation outlooks, this is the 6 to 10 day one. We're expecting very dry conditions in the western United States, which could lead to more drought conditions out here than what we even already have over the next several days. And then also, we are expecting a very large area across the eastern United States and the central United States to have above average precipitation. And, that's mainly just because it's springtime, right? It's severe weather season. And then obviously you just got your typical, spring showers and thunderstorms too. Not every single form of spring precipitation is going to be severe weather. The 8 to 14 day precipitation outlook, it's painting kind of a similar picture, but I will say they do have a small area here across parts of the Midwest that they are expecting to have below average precipitation. But other than that, it's pretty much the same as the 6 to 10 day outlook. And then the 3 to 4 week outlook, again, it's just a ridiculously large area of above average precipitation expected everywhere from, Colorado back up to Maine. So, anyway, I think we are going to end off the live stream here since we don't really have any active severe weather to talk about. We're really just talking about what's going to happen over the next few weeks. So, we're going to end off the live stream here. We will be back later this afternoon or this evening where we are going to have, again, the potential for a tornado outbreak across parts of Iowa, Missouri, Illinois, Kansas, Wisconsin, and Minnesota. So make sure to tune in for that. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you in the next